Record numbers of migrants coming into the U.S., what the federal and Texas government is now doing to ease the influx.
A new storm in the Atlantic. Hurricane watches out for parts of the U.S. We'll talk about Ophelia in your local forecast coming up.
And Paxton is back. How the Texas Attorney General is going against Republicans who went against him. We start with the crisis along the border. Thanks for joining us at 5. I'm Daniel Marin.
And I'm Jennifer Sanders in for Britt Moreno. Federal and state leaders are scrambling to figure out how to deal with the thousands of migrants that continue to pour into the U.S.
Now, we told you an emergency declaration is in effect in Eagle Pass. As News Nation's Stephanie Haynes reports, both Governor Greg Abbott and the White House are sending extra help.
The most recent surge of migrants is stoking panic along the U.S.-Mexico border once again. Video provided to News Nation shows migrants riding on top of train cars as a fast track to the border. In Eagle Pass, Texas, migrants are crawling under barbed wire along the Rio Grande River. Dozens of them huddling under the bridge to Mexico, waiting to be processed. U.S. Customs and Border Protection announced it is suspending vehicle processing at Bridge 1 to free up officers to help take migrants into custody.
Cities are just not equipped to have this many people on the ground without being inside, without, food, medicine, all the things that you would need for large groups of people. There are children among this group.
Over the past few days, officials tell News Nation a 3-year-old boy died after he was pulled from the river, and the next day, an adult male. The mayor of Eagle Pass issued an emergency declaration. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has deployed the state National Guard and DPS troopers.
We will have additional state troopers, National Guard, and we will start making arrests for state violations.
Guardsmen are installing more razor wire along the Rio Grande. The White House calls the governor's actions, quote, a political stunt, and says it has taken a number of actions, including deploying 800 new active duty personnel to the border, in addition to the 2,500 National Guardsmen, and vows to deal with the border in a humane, safe, and orderly manner.
This is an issue that's been around for decades. This is a broken immigration system. This is why the president on his first day put forth a comprehensive piece of legislation to try to deal with this immigration.
Now, Stephanie Haynes reporting. Going in depth, polling shows Texans have mixed views over those buoys Texas placed in the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass. Last month, the Texas Politics Project at the University of Texas asked voters for their opinions about the barriers. A little more than half supported placing buoys and barbed wire in the river. 40% were opposed. And then if we break it down by political party, nearly 90% of Republicans support the policy compared to less than 20% of Democrats.
Today, President Joe Biden announces he's creating the Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Mr. Biden says since Congress hasn't acted, he will.
NBC's Chris Pallone has the details of this first of its kind office.
Surrounded by survivors of gun violence and those dedicated to ending it, President Biden announced the launch of the nation's first ever White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention.
After every mass shooting, we hear a simple message, the same message all over the country. And I've been to every mass shooting. Do something. Please do something.
Vice President Kamala Harris will lead the office, which will work towards executive actions the president can take alone to fight gun violence and support state efforts to do the same.
On this issue, we do not have a moment to spare, nor a life to spare.
Nearly 50,000 people died from shootings in 2021. More than half were suicides. Doctors Emily and Elliot Lieberman survived the 2022 4th of July mass shooting in Highland Park, Illinois.
We're very optimistic that this office is going to help to be the interface between the executive and legislative branches here in Washington, D.C. So now to have an assigned office, a full-time staff doing that work is going to be critical.
They're pushing for a ban on assault weapons and recruiting other doctors to their cause.
If you have been shot by an assault weapon, odds are you end up in the morgue instead of in the emergency room.
Despite polls showing public support for stricter gun laws, on Capitol Hill, lawmakers don't have the votes to pass an assault weapons ban.
We lose 100 people a day due to gun violence. The leading cause of death for a child is to be shot. And I think that that's a failure. It's a policy failure, and there's a lot of work we need to do.
Last year, the president signed the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first new federal gun laws in 30 years. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
First Warning Weather with meteorologist Kristen Curry.
Well, our last full day of summer, and boy, did it feel like it. 99 officially in downtown Austin. The airport hit 100 degrees, second most on record as far as those triple-digit days go. We got close to the record, but we didn't see us top that at Camp Mabry. Again, those are just the daily records. We're going to get close again tomorrow, too, though. Live look outside. Whittlesey Landscape Supplies weather camera there in Granite Shoals. Plenty of blue sky, good amount of sunshine, still hot at 99. You factor in the humidity, feels even hotter than that with those 90s. Out west, feeling like 100 or hotter over the I-35 corridor eastwards. It's going to take a little while for those temperatures to drop, but they will eventually. Late night in the 80s, overnight in the 70s. Coming up in your First Warning forecast, we've got some isolated rain to talk about, not only for tonight, but also for your Saturday. So I'm going to show you the latest timing on that. We'll talk about the better rain chances that will follow come Monday, and some big updates from what is now Tropical Storm Ophelia. We've got parts of the U.S. under a hurricane watch right now. I'll show you that latest update in your First Warning forecast.
All right, Kristen, thank you. Attorney General Ken Paxton says he's going all in against Republicans who went against him during impeachment proceedings.
In a flurry of interviews, Paxton announced that he will be fundraising and campaigning for conservative primary challengers to incumbents. Our Capitol correspondent Monica Madden has more.
That is restored Attorney General Ken Paxton. I'm Mark Davis. It's 9:27.
Making his radio rounds Thursday, Attorney General Ken Paxton came out swinging against his now Republican opponents.
Are you going to be actively supporting and funding primary opponents to some of your tormentors?
Absolutely. What they did was wrong. I will be on the campaign trail. I never got involved in primaries.
Paxton targeting 3 GOP officials in particular: House Speaker Dade Phelan, Representative Andrew Murr, who chaired the impeachment managers, and Paxton's former mentee, Representative Jeff Leach.
I'm highly motivated to, I'll be spending a lot of time in Belmont. I'll be spending a lot of time in, I think it's Kerrville where Murr is. I'll be spending a lot of time in Collin County. I will definitely be speaking out, and Jeff Leach, get ready.
Leach responding to Paxton's comments with a sports meme, which said, quote, "We ready." Those divisions will be front and center in the upcoming special session on education.
They haven't passed school choice. Strike 2.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick suggesting that House Republicans might face an uphill battle as a result of impeachment, and more so if they fail to support school vouchers.
So they have 3 issues to go home and face the voters with. And if you heard Governor Abbott this week, he said on school choice, if y'all don't pass it, then the voters will decide in the primary.
Politicos say history says the challengers might force incumbent Republicans to move further right.
We might see them policy-wise move a little to the right to try to dissuade people from running against them. One of the advantages that they have, of course, is the election isn't in November, meaning people's memories of impeachment will be replaced next year.
Monica Madden, KXAN News.
Campaign filing opens in November, but some conservatives have already voiced their intent to go against those incumbents, including the speaker. Now, KXAN did reach out to the offices of Phelan, Murr, and Leach for comment, but we have not yet heard back. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is saying Senator Sarah Eckhart is, quote, flat out wrong after she slammed his performance in Ken Paxton's impeachment trial. She says the lieutenant governor lacked the skill and neutrality, and that legal proceedings should be overseen by a, quote, experienced judge. Now, in a statement released today, Patrick says in part that Eckhart did not listen well in court or read pretrial motions, and she should retract her statement so the historic record is accurate. Now, he adds he did his very best and he is proud of how the trial played out. Lastly, Lieutenant Governor Patrick, he says that Senator Eckhart, in the future, allow me to recommend that before you launch an attack, check the facts first before you speak, end quote.
Still ahead, Midwest manhunts. Updates on missing inmates who escaped from custody.
And coming up, some new developments in the United Auto Workers strike, how they're expanding and what the strikers are now hoping to accomplish.
Well, now to the Midwest, where we've been following 2 separate manhunts for 2 fugitive inmates. In Missouri, the search for a convicted child sex offender who escaped from a St. Louis hospital while receiving medical treatment is now over. Police found Tommy Boyd 7 miles away from the hospital. He's now back in custody. The hospital says 2 corrections officers had been guarding Boyd when he walked away. He's serving a 30-year sentence for sexually assaulting a child. And then in Indiana, a murder suspect has managed to evade police for more than a week after authorities mistakenly released him from jail. Kevin Mason got out 2 days after his arrest due to a clerical error. Authorities arrested Mason's girlfriend, who they say picked him up after his release. U.S. Marshals are offering a $10,000 reward for information that leads to arrest, and they are expanding the search to other cities.
Well, it is Battle of the Lakes Day, and the sun came out to play, that's for sure. Why this top 10 showdown is bringing such energy from both squads. That's coming up next.
It'll certainly be hot out there. We're still sitting in the upper 90s. Today's high 99 degrees, close to 10 degrees hotter than average. You'll notice the rain kind of shut off after that good rain we had over the past weekend. Will we get a little bit more? There's a good chance of it. We'll talk more about it coming up.
Right now, the United Auto Workers expanded strike starting to directly impact consumers. Plus, with insurance companies shying away from high wildfire risk areas, the steps California is taking to cover property owners, but at what cost? Tonight.
Well, now in high school football, we had the Battle of the Bell last week with Round Rock and Westwood.
And now it's the Battle of the Lakes, Westlake and Lake Travis. And that's where we find our Noah Gross. Hey, Noah.
Hey guys, sun, as we said, definitely out to play once more, around 100 degrees, but it wants to see a very good ball game between Lake Travis and Westlake. A top 10 showdown. Westlake has won it the past 2 years. Lake Travis trying to break that streak here at home. Let's get into it a little bit. Both these teams, a great start to the season. Lake Travis has had a tough schedule. They've been tested a bit more than Westlake has, but both teams have rolled undefeated. Something's got to give tonight as far as scheduling. Yeah, this is very early. Westlake and Lake Travis before Texas even opens conference play, but both teams are very excited no matter when the game comes.
It's very high for sure. This is going to be an intense game, and I feel like we're going to go out with the win this one for sure.
This is a big game for both communities, but really it's about we need to play better than we did last week just because we've had a week of extra practice and understand that the score is likely going to be closer because they're a great program.
It's everything to us seniors especially. We talk about it all year, but really it's just another game for us. We've had 2 great weeks of preparation, and we feel like we're ready to go in there and win.
Obviously going on the road. To kind of see where we're at when that playoff type mode is going to take to beat quality teams like Lake Travis and the other ones we're going to see later on in the year.
It's a big week overall for high school football. Obviously, this one kind of leading the pack. And, well, if you're wondering how you can watch this, you weren't one of the lucky fans to get a seat. 7:30, KXAN.com. Objectively, that's the best place to watch. We'll be streaming this one for this big rivalry. That includes you three. I know on dinner break, you're going to be eating. You can enjoy yourself, but you can be streaming. I don't know if we can track IP addresses and everything. Watching this one as well.
What do you mean? We're always logged on to KXAN.
Yes, for sure. It is a big game. A lot of people have been talking about it, so I'm pretty excited to see what happens. And again, for those who've headed out to Cavalier Stadium, let me show you what we've got going on with the temperatures because it is going to be hot. You heard Noah touch on that. Temperatures will still be in those mid to upper 90s, it looks like, over the next couple of hours, and eventually we'll settle the game in the 80s after the 4th quarter. As far as what we've got out there now, plenty of sunshine with some cumulus clouds kind of dotting the sky. This view courtesy of our West Shore home camera there, looking out over central Austin, currently sitting at 99. Again, that was our high temperature today, running close to about 10 degrees hotter than average. I'm going to keep my eye on these itty bitty showers. We're going to try to get it into our eastern counties. It's a sea breeze storm, not expecting anything in the way of severe weather, not expecting meaningful rain. I can see a couple of those storms already trying to make a run at us. They're further east at this moment, but my eyes will be out towards Bastrop, Fayette, and Lee County here for a couple of very isolated storms and showers. It's a less than 10% chance for tonight. Tomorrow morning, we wake up with a mainly cloudy sky, I think, similar to what we had this morning. And then late in the day tomorrow, almost, I would say tomorrow night, another isolated rain chance here. So 10% for tonight and again tomorrow night before we start to see some better rain chances coming in on Sunday. Sunday, I think, is going to be the day where we start to see a little bit more working in our favor for the storms and showers. Both days will be hot this weekend. KXAN. Forecast high of 99 for both tomorrow and again on Sunday. But Sunday into Monday, cold front enters the state, and this right here is going to be the main weather maker for us coming in through the day on Monday. Monday, that's a 60% chance of storms and showers we got going for us, and eventually that front kind of washes out. Tuesday, a leftover storm or shower certainly possible. By Wednesday, I'm thinking drier skies here, and we're going to continue to see the drier weather move in towards the middle of the week. That being said, with Sunday, Monday, Tuesday looking to hold the best rain chances, how much rain could we see out of those storms and showers? Consistently, the data has pointed to about 1/4 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, so I buy it. I think that's a good general range we can expect by the time we hit Wednesday. Isolated pockets of more are certainly possible, but those are going to be impossible to nail down at this point. We'll keep you updated as we get a little closer. Heads up Sunday, some of those storms could have a little bit of a bite. It's a low risk for severe weather, 1 out of 5 for the hill country portions of the I-35 corridor. Gusty winds, maybe some small hail, of course lightning possible late in the day on Sunday. So we will keep you updated on that. Following that severe weather threat, a low flash flood threat on Monday. Again, low. 1 out of 5. As far as Ophelia goes, just briefly wanted to touch on this. Nothing that will impact Texas. This has strengthened. Hurricane hunters were out there. They found winds of 70 miles per hour. Hurricane status starts at 74. So very strong tropical storm likely to make landfall sometime within the next 24 hours in North Carolina. Eventually this gets wrapped towards the north and northeast. Big rainmaker, storm surge about 4 to 6 feet along the coast there of the Carolinas. 7-day forecast here at home. Upper 90s for tomorrow and Sunday. You see the better rain chances Monday, Tuesday, and that's actually going to continue. You'll notice those cooler temperatures as we get into the middle of next week here. Hey, wanted to give a big heads up. I had the opportunity to go to Cypress Springs Elementary this morning and talk with their news team. They put on their own broadcast as 5th graders. I was so impressed. So I kind of got to give them a little bit of the behind the scenes of what we do every day. Anchors, reporters, producers, directors. There's a whole team that puts on our broadcasts every day, and they had a little bit of an opportunity to tell me how they do it. So it was a lot of fun this morning. Cypress Springs Elementary, this is out in Dripping Springs, their news team there. Thank you so much, Ms. Laird, for inviting me out. I really appreciate talking to Cypress Springs news team today.
I want to update you on a story that we've been following here at KXAN. The National Transportation Safety Board is in New York to investigate yesterday's deadly charter bus crash. While their investigation is still in the early stages, the NTSB officials say that a faulty tire may have played a role in the crash that killed 2 people and injured dozens more. The bus was carrying members of a Long Island High School band. They were headed to a camp in Pennsylvania. As for the 2 people lost, both of them were adults. One of them was the band director and also a longtime retired 77-year-old teacher. At last check, at least 5 students remained in a critical condition.
Auto workers and riders striking for better contracts, where they stand and the impacts on the auto and entertainment industries.
This case made national headlines. It's a story about a father who died suddenly and unexpectedly in his home. In the months that followed, his wife wrote a children's book to help her 3 young sons cope with their grief. But as police started digging into this case, they quickly discovered she had secrets, and so did he. Tonight on Dateline at 9 on KXAN.
After what's being described as 3 days of intense negotiations and a work stoppage that has lasted 143 days, both sides in the Hollywood writers' strike seem to be close to a deal.
But as Jay Gray reports, it comes while the United Auto Workers, now in the 2nd week of their strike, well, they're shifting things into high gear.
No contract, no part, no contract. They are 2 picket lines, the United Auto Workers and Writers Guild of America, that right now seem to be marching in different directions. The writers apparently close to inking a deal nearly 5 months after walking off the job, demanding higher wages, residual pay from streaming services, and job protections against the use of artificial intelligence.
It's not a whole lot, and it's something that's going to help pave the way for all future writers.
Now, even with a new WGA contract, most TV and movie productions would remain dark, with actors still on strike and apparently far from any common ground with the studios. More United Auto Workers are now leaving the production line for the picket line, the union expanding its strike to 38 General Motors and Stellantis plants across 20 states.
We will shut down parts distribution until those two companies come to their senses and come to the table with a serious offer.
The union's president says no additional Ford plants are being targeted because the automaker has shown, quote, they're serious about reaching a deal. 8 days in, more than 18,000 UAW workers have now walked off the job. Jay Gray, NBC News.
Coming up tonight on KXAN, it's America's Got Talent at 7. At 9 o'clock, a new episode of Dateline. And after that, KXAN News will be back at 10 o'clock.